or serve at the table and still give extravagant.
All right. All right.
I remember as a little girl, like I said, I was born here in Detroit. My first experience with discrimination was not in Detroit, but every summer, when school let out, I had to go down south.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
I had to go down south to Georgia, LaGrange, Georgia, stay with my grandmother while everybody worked. And I was about 5 years old, but I could read and I could write. We go to the store uptown, not downtown.
That's right.
And I'm in the store and I want to get some water. And there's a little grimy thing over here, and above it says color. And there's a clean white one over here that says white. In my mind as a child, I'm going to drink out the clean. So I went over there to drink out the fountain, and I got snatched by somebody who looked like they probably could have been my babysitter. You know, she was that young. And I'm trying to explain to her that I can't drink out the dirty fountain. Eventually, my aunt came over, and she's explaining to this person, that was the first time I had that feeling of being treated differently. Because my aunt, whom I loved dearly, was bowing her head and telling this young white woman, you know, why I was not drinking out the dirty fountain. Then you come back home here in Detroit, and you begin to notice other things. I was about 12, just to tell you how old I am, I have no shame in my game. When I marched with that first march with Martin Luther King. Because I marched because my father was totally against it. But the elders in our family said, she go on with us. And my father, who at that time lived on Virginia Park and Woodward, you know, for those of Detroiters, you know where that is. And he had a shotgun. And his comment was, if a hair on my head gets hurt, I'm blasting. He had been in the Korean War. He had been over in Saudi Arabia. He had been in Northern Africa. And that was his feelings. And his other feeling was that every week we had to report to him on an African country. That was the way that I was raised.
Wow. Now,
at the same time, he was a factory worker, like most folks here, you know, in terms of middle class and what have you. And his family had several businesses. They had, I'm getting to the women's issue. My auntie had a beauty in a barber shop, and of course she ran numbers. Some of y'all maybe too young to understand what that means. That was before the lottery. That was the black lottery. Now, as a kid growing up in Detroit, I'm going to tell you something. I was very happy. It seemed like we had everything going on for us. And when that troublemaker came, to quote my uncle, when Martin Luther King came, but even before that, they forgot about what happened in 1943. Are you all aware that there was a riot back in 43?
Yes.
In race riot. Okay. So I'm just saying to you that this is not new. And when I hear some young people that say, you know, well, we got to do, well, I want you to know we've been doing it.
Yeah.
Okay? And one of the biggest fights, and I think Robin probably knows about this, is that it's been over water back in the 1800s. Folks have wanted Detroit water for a long time. So all of the issues that we're talking about, they are not new issues. And what I'm going to agree with is something that Brother Dawood said, and that's this, is that we organize, we strategize, we move 2 steps up, and then we get over. And we don't want to pass it to the young people. Even though most of us started off young in terms of organizing. And I want to commend Brother Yusuf and Brother Baraka, because when they came to me talking about doing this, you know, my organizer had kicked in and I said, brother, y'all don't have a whole lot of time talking about doing all that you're doing. But then my mother Bracy and some of those other folks that you were talking about kicked in, because I remember when we were trying to move fast and they stepped back and let us do it. So one of the things that I think we have to appreciate is that when young people come to us and they have the idea, because remember the other crowd, all those gray-haired, bald-haired folks in here, they got the energy. But my father was always the one who said, nothing changes without action. So if you want things to change, then you have to take action, and you have to organize. It's all right to step out there initially as a committee of one, but you better have some backup. So,
thank you, Mama Akua. So we're going to introduce ourselves, just give you a little background. I have titles. I'm a minister, artist, educator, but my greatest title is Mama Mayowa. And so that's how people know me in the community, no matter what sphere of influence or no matter what space I'm in. I am an urban bushwoman. I am a Detroiter, lifelong, although I've traveled all over the world and come back. There's nothing like home. I am the daughter of James Waterman, who was a Booster old-timer and friends with Coleman Young. He was 45 when I was born. I'm the daughter of Margaret Elizabeth McWilliams Waterman, who migrated from Evergreen, Alabama, to help her brother in Black Bottom, who kept his wife and he kept having children. So she moved to Detroit to assist them with their family, where she met my father. My father owned a restaurant until the '67 riots, and then he went into real estate, Motown Realty Company. I'm a local girl. I went to Beaubien, McDowell, Mumford, and I actually have an undergraduate and graduate degrees from Marygrove College. Marygrove College, founded by Sister Teresa Maxis, who was both Haitian and French-Canadian, and she was passing for just a little taste while she founded this institution. The work that I do, I've raised 5 children, 3 from my womb, 2 from the community. My children all attended Detroit public schools because I'm an educator within that system, and I believe that if my own children cannot attend a system that I'm a part of, then I should not be a part of the system. And so I'm a liberator in terms of educating people and freeing their minds. I believe in self-care. I know that women have been a part of every movement, particularly when we talk about any movement of significance that have lasted, like the one that's lasted over 2,000 years. It was the women who supported that ministry and who have carried it on. And so that's just a little bit about me. I'm Mama Mayowa. Thank you. Peace, everybody. I'm honored to sit up here with my fellow sisters, Mama Mayowa, my sister Shekinah, who actually attends school with my son. So I'm a lifelong Detroiter. I dibbled and dabbled in 1 or 2 cities for probably 5 out of my 38 years, but the rest of my life has been in Detroit. My mother had me at 16 years old. Her mother died 3 months later. My father died of AIDS when I was 9 in 1985, when they didn't know what AIDS was. I graduated from high school. I did not graduate from college, and I spent a lot of time thinking that I wasn't going to do anything with my life. That there was no possibility for me to do anything with my life. But I sit before you now as an organizer, as a mother, with a son who is in his 2nd year on the National Honor Society at Howard University on a full ride scholarship. I sit before you as someone who has been to Palestine, who has been invited to Cuba, who travels all over the world, performing, speaking, educating, mentoring in prisons. I'm a member of Detroiters Resisting Emergency Management. I'm on the board of the James and Grace Lee Boggs Center. I am also a part of the People's Water Board Coalition and Detroiters the Foundation Celebrating Women in Hip Hop. I say all that to say that my story, I believe, was written well before I went through any of the circumstances that I went through. So, I just want to talk about, we talked about water, just real brief, because this feels like part of my bio. You know, this feels like part of my bio, because I'm always defending water work. But I want to lift up a couple of victories for y'all. Moratoriums, additional financial assistance for residents, educating people on how to survive when they don't have water, forcing DWSD to implement more financial plans, getting thousands of people back on water. forcing them to hire staff, forcing them to cut their call times down from 2 hours to 45 minutes, canvassing door-to-door connecting neighbors, setting up emergency water stations, setting up emergency hotlines. It's so on and so on and so on. I get deeper into that, but this work is about my life. I wake up every single day wondering how I'm going to make life better for the next human being. And so that's a part of my bio as well.
Peace, y'all. Peace. My name is Shekinah Hockenhull. I'm a native of Detroit. I was born practically on the church pew on 7 Mile, but I am from 6 Mile in Wyoming. Yes. I currently attend Howard University studying Africana Studies. Thank you. I spend most of my time trying to educate my peers about the issues that are going on in their community. I was a part of a group who founded an organization called the Michigan HBCU Undergraduate Association. And so it works to create community among students who are from Michigan, specifically black populated cities like Flint and Detroit, and teaching them about the history of HBCUs and how we can go back to our communities once we receive our degrees and how we can support them while we're also in school. We are trying right now to develop our 501c3 status so we can start creating a positive pipeline of students who are educated at HBCUs. We advocate for the protection of our institutions because there is no one who is really looking out for the best interests of HBCUs and using them as sacred space for black liberation. And so that is the essence of what the Michigan HBCU Undergraduate Association is. And I also right now am working as the coordinator of the internship at the James and Gracie Boggs School. I want you all to really take the time. I know we always lift up the name of our elder, Gracie Boggs, who has been an activist in our community for many years, but I want you all to take the time to read James Boggs. You all need to get the James Boggs reader and read the work that he created. He was before his time. He prophesied a lot of the things that we're going through today with the industrialization and a lot of the issues that we're having right now in society. So get the James Boggs reader and thank you.
It's interesting when I hear all of this because I was the organization was first called the Advocates. Are you aware of that? I'm one of the advocates with Jimmy Boggs. Yeah. But I also was a member of the Pan-Africanist Congress, USA. I mean, one of the blessings is you can be involved. Yes, that's where you know me now. I'm a lot older than I look. And I claim it. I also would say this, that I didn't mention the fact that I'm also a birth mother of 6, and I've raised 10, and I have a black knight on a white horse. That's my husband. And, you know, it's real interesting as I listen to all of this. I'm a lot older than what I even think. If I've lived through some of this that you're talking about. But I want to say a little bit about women and women's involvement in all the various struggles that go on. Black women. I was introduced to my involvement was through the National Black Feminist Organization. Now, I would never, as a Pan-Africanist, I would say, no, I don't want to be involved with it, but I knew a woman, radical as heck, called Flo Kennedy. She had a vocabulary that didn't have too many straight words. And she told me, I was running around, I had divorced, and I was in my early 20s. And I had those 4 little girls running around with me. And Flo Kennedy was the one that told me to tell everybody to kiss my posterior and keep on trucking. Because you have to understand, with women being involved in the struggle, we were relegated. They tried to relegate us to, well, you need to take care of kids or be in the kitchen, and even in the black struggle, and women stepped out. There's nothing that has happened in the black struggle that women were not in the forefront. There are several books that some of you educators can call out now that, you know, Gloria House and Nell King goes in. Many of the others, Dorothy, I'm thinking about Dorothy, you know what I'm talking about, was over at the place on the east side. I heard her name. Dorothy Hubert. Thank you very much. You know, we have always been involved with our babies on the front line. Imani Humphrey. You know, I'm just talking about, and it was very diverse. Some of us were very active, like I said, in the women's movement in terms of, and called traitors, okay? I remember being involved in, the brothers were telling us, you know, that we didn't need to be, that, what did they tell them, trying to slaughter us by birth control pills, because women did not have any choice. If you went to the doctor, I'm going to talk about it, and you talked about some kind of contraceptive, you either needed your husband's signature, or else doctors would tell you, I'm sorry. Now, that may sound a little crazy to some of you in today's world, but that is the way that it was. And nowadays, as I look at what's going on in terms of women being involved and the slaughter of women, how many of you remember Joanne Little or Inez Garcia? Let me tell you who Inez Garcia, well, let me tell you Joanne Little was. She was a black woman who was in prison, who was sexually assaulted, and she killed him. It was a sheriff. She was the first woman in the United States to be acquitted by using deadly force against sexual assault. Now, that may not seem like that was major, but back then, that was major. Inez Garcia was a Latino sister, but the same thing happened. We joined forces to try to work on some things for that group, and this is the success that we had, and you'll see how this relates. So we joined forces, black women in the community across the country, and here in Detroit, the same thing happened. We learned our first lesson about a white racist, even in the women's movement. When it came down to go before the TV cameras and the newspapers and what have you, our worthy and thought-to-be white sisters stepped in front of us. And we learned our first lesson about who take a position. So there's a lot of things that happen among women. You know, going to work. I'm trying to go to work, and the first question they ask me is that I have kids. I learned real quick, do not tell them you have 4 kids, because you won't be hired. And yet they still would fuss at you about, well, you know, these women, they have all these babies, they don't want to go to work. So I'm just saying that there's so many different ways in which we were discriminated against, but being involved in the struggle back then, as we keep talking about back then, I'm going to talk about 60s, 70s, when some of you were youngsters. And all we could do was, in terms of stuff envelopes, be supportive of the movement, and step out front. And when we think about stepping out front, all of you know the story of Angela Davis, but there were women that organized things around, particularly reproductive rights and health issues, going back to the 20s, the 40s, not just about having babies, but better health services. Because a lot of you may not know this, but women really didn't go to doctors for having babies. It was midwives.
That's right.
And we didn't have as many deaths and other problems when we were dealing with midwives. I'm jumping around, but it's because I want you to know there's a whole other picture. What happened for me was the global picture. When I began to go around the world and realize the common issues for women, whether it was in Africa or Cuba, or even in Europe, some places. The whole holistic approach to things. The fact that witches were not witches, they were herbalists. So there's a lot of facts in which we look at things here and have a lot of relationships in terms of the women doing the work. There was a woman here in Detroit that became, she was the first black woman on city council, Councilwoman Irma Henderson. She had a conference every year called Women's Conference Concern, but it wasn't just about women, it was about a whole array of issues to look at and to organize around. And one of the keys that they were talking about earlier was people came together around common issues, no matter who you were. And that's what is important, that you don't have to be in isolation to try to work around the issue. And the whole spirituality, we don't talk about that because people want to fight about religion. Your God better than my God. Or I got a direct component with this one. The fact is that historically we have always been a spiritual people. All people of color tend to. And that is not to say that Europeans are not. But we have more in common than we have differences. And as women, we have fought the battle side by side, even if we were loading bullets and we wasn't shooting guns. And here in Detroit, I've never known a time that women were not in the forefront. You know, men got up and they were preaching or what have you, but women were actually doing the strategy work and organizing. So I'm going to pass it to you.
I'm excited to be here with these young women, and as I shift into my role as an elder in the community, it is my honor to support young women. I think about, I'm going to start with the sexual violence piece, because a lot of people don't know that Rosa Parks was traveling the South collecting stories of women who have been sexually violated by white men and trying to gather enough data in order to organize a movement around getting justice for these women. And so that's what I mean by liberating our children and teaching them the deeper histories. People don't just pop up and all of a sudden they're famous. They've been doing this work. I'm very interested in balance. So I mentioned Rosa Parks and the sexual violence because here at Marygrove you have Kalima Johnson, who's a phenomenal poet, who has the Sasha Center, and I'm a supporter of the Sasha Center, where they do holistic and alternative methodologies for healing women, black women in particular. All women are welcome, from sexual assault and violence. And for many years she couldn't get funded because she believes in prayer and meditation and yoga. But then the Justice Department was in Michigan and they found out this amazing work that she was doing. See, she just did the work. She didn't necessarily seek to be funded, she did the work. And as a result of her amazing work, she's the only one in the nation whose specific focus is women of color. And she's funded, maybe like they gave her like $250,000 before they left Michigan because they were so amazed. So what's phenomenal about that is she didn't seek that. She sought the mission and the work, and she just did the work. Mommy is one of my personal mentors who taught me how to be a parent and to be an educator. And so one of the things that I'm concerned with supporting the movement and the work, building a net that works. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing crystallized it for me, and that's why I study with the People's Institute for Survival and Beyond in New Orleans, Louisiana. And be very clear, I've been in New Orleans the last 8 years. What happened to New Orleans as a result of a natural disaster called Hurricane Katrina is happening to Detroit as a result of a quote-unquote financial disaster. The disenfranchisement, the water, the land. There were people who were in the town of Tremé, the oldest community of free Africans in the United States, who while they were away because of Hurricane Katrina, someone bought their house and their land, paid their taxes, and they were never allowed to move back in. So we can learn lessons from our brothers and sisters in other communities as well. But my point is that Frances Cress Welsing made it clear that both our health care, housing, access to economics, education, everything that we think is important, and we have all these battles that we fight, she said that it's about dismantling white supremacy and racism, which is a construct. It was constructed, it's a play that we act out because we're assigned roles and we keep acting them out. And it's only when we begin to deconstruct that we can become anti-racist community organizers, that we both heal ourselves, because we realize we're not crazy, and that we can heal our brothers and sisters who call themselves white, because then they're free. They're free from having to walk in life with this privilege that they did not earn and denying us, and we can truly be brothers and sisters, and we can work on all of those things that we need to work on: education, access to health care, housing, finances, and so forth. And so that's the kind of work that I do. I believe in healing. I'm a sister's sister. I don't believe in relinquishing my femininity to be in any type of movement. You understand what I'm saying? A lot of women are forced to act more masculine or more aggressive because that's what they call us when we're assertive and we're smart and we're beautiful, and we have to re-challenge all that language, right? But I'm about healing, personal healing, and healing communities, and about supporting young women, because Bree Newsome is my new hero. I love this 30-year-old young woman who said, y'all keep talking about stuff, talking and eating. I'm going to climb the pole, and I'm going to take the flag down, because it only went up when the Civil Rights Act was passed. It's a symbol of tyranny and treason. They should have been put in prison, but then the president at that time made a deal and told the free Africans in South Carolina, we know we promised y'all land, and we know we should treat them as treasonous, but we just gonna go ahead and pretend like this never happened. So people like Bree and people like these young women, I support them, but I'll encourage them to eat right, to get rest, to not struggle all the time, to laugh, to have, to make love. You gotta have balance, because this can become toxic because it's so strong. And so I hold up Ida B. Wells, and I wonder, how did she do it? She was trying to end lynching, and they said, well, lynching doesn't exist. We don't have any proof. Can you prove it to us? Right? We want to end police brutality. Black Lives Matter. And they say, well, we got the camera. But we can, the kids can edit the film, right? Because it's not about whether we catch something on film. It's about a mindset of white supremacy and racism that somehow there's superiority and inferiority, and we have to eradicate that. So I want to talk about, I want to promote balance and laughter. You see me in my head at the Jazz Festival. We love good music and good food. You can't just fight all the time. You have to heal. You have to enjoy life as well. I think about Harriet when she got her own freedom, and that wasn't good enough. And that's where many of us are today. We've all accomplished a certain amount of things. But that should not be good enough. So we have to connect with the young people and support them and give them our wisdom. And sometimes shut up. Just come. Just show up. You want me to pass out some flyers? Okay. You want to lend my voice? And so it's having, to me, it's an ebb and a flow. It's an ebb and a flow. I have so many mentors. But as I grow, the one thing I'm learning from them is that it's not just about me, it's about helping others. But I am about the eradication of white supremacy and racism in all levels so that we can all be free. So that, as Ron Chisholm, who wrote the book, said, he's from New Orleans, so I'm going to do his accent since I'm an actress. Now, it ain't about just undoing racism. You got to undo racism because you're going to restore humanity. Because everybody's lost their humanity. See, white folks have lost their humanity. They done lost their minds. And so when we undo racism, we give it back. We give humanity back, and we become brothers and sisters. We lost our humanity, as Malcolm said. We lost our very minds. And so when we restore, when we undo that construct, and we truly value women and men, LGBT. If you're not LGBT, don't trip. They're just as valuable in the human family as the rest of us. But we have all these barriers. And women particularly, we have barriers. We have barriers in ministry. But I've had the privilege, and I want to thank Brother Dawood Muhammad, I've had the privilege of sitting on stage with Minister Louis Farrakhan. Because they said, no, Mayowa, she cool, right? And they gave me a spot, right? And he's looked me in my eye. We've had contact, and I remember that for the rest of my life. But we opened the door and helped somebody else go through it. Yeah? Y'all with me on that? I see Mama Akua coming close. Y'all know, you get preachers a microphone, we can go forever. But I want to say that I'm about balance, I'm about love, I'm about eradication of white supremacy and racism by any means, and I want to love and support these young women, and I want to encourage them to fight and live, to fight and love, to fight and work.
Then the young sister said, do you want to give it to me? Yes, I want to give it to you.
I understand power to be defining phenomena and making it acting desired. Fred Hampton taught me that. He was 21 years old when he died. I sit here on this panel as a young woman who's 21 years old. I think I've come into contact with a lot of people who are afraid of women in black spaces. And I think when you don't advocate for the rights of women and when you don't empower women, you ultimately contribute to white supremacy. And so I think we need to call that by its name, patriarchy. I think we need to use the correct language. We talked about language before, we talked about power. Language is power, and I learned that from a sister named Reynolds, who was taught by you, who is also a Howard University graduate and organizer in our community. So I want you all to be careful about the language that we use and call it by its name. I also want to again lift up the name of an organizer in our community, by the name of Budu-Watkins. She's a young woman who has started a black magazine online called Black Bottom Archives. I encourage you all to look it up. It's a platform that the young people are using to talk about what they want to. The young people, you earlier were talking about the issues that are going on with young people, the issues that they think are pertinent. That's happening on blackbottomarchives.com. I want you all to check that out. And I will also say, Ida B. Wells, when she published her pamphlet on lynching, it was done because 4 women in New York City got together and put on a dinner and fundraised over $300. That's all it took to create pamphlets that were distributed across the country about lynching. So, and Ida B. Wells said specifically that it was about the facts. It wasn't about like us accusing you anymore, and she was like, okay, I got tired of you telling me that it's not existing, that I'm going to show you. And she created a pamphlet and it was distributed nationwide. So I wonder, where are our presses? Where are the people who are doing this, and are we supporting those, and are we getting the young people in the community access to those things? I think a lot of times we put young people in programs and we tell them, okay, learn about all the things that are wrong, you can change the world, but then they don't have the context, as we said before. They don't know that Ida B. Wells did that all it took was a dinner for them to fundraise $300 for them to do that and to keep it going. So I would say, how are you not only like educating them, but how are you empowering them to create something for themselves? I will also say, I think in Detroit, we don't recognize that, well, not everyone in Detroit, but a lot of people who are organizing, I find myself in a dichotomy that I will admit that I worked for M1 Well at one point in my life, and I can no longer justify the existence for M1 Well. I can no longer advocate for that, because now I see that like the transportation, your direct access to transportation determines your quality of life. Your direct access to water determines your quality of life. And so what they're talking about, the schools being closed and students being shifted all over the place, literally the people who I went to middle school with, I went to Bates Academy. You know, Bates Academy was the pinnacle school. It was where the mayor sent his kids. There are children who are in my class who were considered to be the upper middle class in the city of Detroit, who were on drugs, who are dying, who didn't go to college. So this isn't something that's just affecting those who are poor within the city. This is permeating its entire existence. And it's sad that it takes for it to affect the middle class and the upper class for people to really pay attention, for them to do something about it. So I think it's important that we really, oftentimes in spaces like this, I choose to be quiet because I understand that it's important to listen and respect my elders, but I really want us to pay attention to what the young people are saying and what they're thinking.
Yes. So I stand on the shoulders of Mama Mayowa, Mama Akua, Mama Elena Harada, and I stand shoulder to shoulder with this sister and slowly passing her the baton. You know, I'm coming off the heels of a gathering called the Movement for Black Lives Convening, where we were in a space with Mother Fannie Lou Hamer's relatives, young people still organizing in her honor, her family. I got to break bread with Mama Ramona Africa Move, still organizing. You know, I was there in the spirit with Mama Barbara Ransby, who was a student of Mother Ella Baker. You know, I get to work with Detroiters Resisting Emergency Management with Mama Aneb. You know, I get to I stand on the shoulders of Mama Lila, who was close to Mama Rosa Parks and worked laboring with her. And I say all that, and I study Sister Elaine Brown, who was a leader of the Black Panther Party, whether they want to give her that credit or not. And as I journey to Cuba next year, I think about Mother Assata Shakur, whose life is in danger every day they get more and more steps closer to being, the United States gets to being in Cuba. And so I just wanted to frame that because those are some of the women in our legacy, in our history, and they have descendants who are still organizing in their honor, in their bloodline, in their family.
We had a beautiful gathering in Cleveland. It was 3 days long. And Yusef and Dennis were there with us, and we got to the very last. We were saying goodbye. We were hugging each other. We were like, thank you for this amazing opportunity. We cried, we laughed. You know, what we gonna do when we get back to our communities? And no sooner did we get to the curve of the sidewalk did we all have to jump into action. We witnessed a 14-year-old child. This is the same police station that shot Tamir Rice 1.2 seconds, 12 years old, 1.2 seconds after showing up to the scene. And then when his 14-year-old sister ran to his aid, they tackled her, handcuffed her, threw her in a police car, and then stood by while he gagged and died. This same police precinct district tackled a 14-year-old child in our presence, handcuffed him, and put him in a police car. So what do? We just spent 3 days building and patting each other on the back. We just spent 3 days telling each other we going to go back to our communities and we going to lift up some of these strategy sessions. But we were faced with it at that very moment. And what happened? About 300 black people happened. What happened? About 50 people locked arms and sat in front of those police cars. What happened? 200 people circled up and said, you will not leave with that child today. What did we do? We got that child's mother's phone number, called her, waited for her to be at the scene, demanded an ambulance, got an ambulance there, got that child to an ambulance, got that child checked out in the ambulance, and then would not release the police. And yes, I said it. We would not release the police because they would have had to take us off. That was clear. With 85 or 100 cameras on them at all times. And yes, 6 of us were pepper sprayed, but that is nothing to sacrifice for the life of a 14-year-old child. And so I say all that to say we moving in a new direction of struggle right now. Not a new one, we're revisiting an old one.
That's right.
And so we can't keep talking about what we're going to do and, you know, the youth are the leaders of tomorrow, because I'm going to tell you, those youth jumped out in front of those police cars, and us 30 and up had to look at each other and say, what we going to do? So they have already leaked. They already did it. And so this is what we're faced with, a decision. 10, 15, you know, I don't subscribe to a particular religion. I teeter on some ideologies. I think I'm a combination of a whole lot of things. At the core of it, I'm a Detroit girl, and that comes with a whole lot of stuff. But I will tell you this, that or else thing, I have adopted. And so I'm saying this to say, we got to get strategic. And when we start thinking about how we're going to respond to some of these things, we were in a position to respond because we strategized. Because we spent 3 days in each other's faces, day in and day out, talking about how we were going to respond. When we put our lives on the line, we all had text messages at one time saying, here is your legal support. I'm not saying everybody got to have a cell phone, and I'm not saying everybody got to employ that strategy, but it's time for us to have some serious, deep down, heart-to-heart discussions on how we're going to take our lives back, bring back some dignity to our children, and how we're going to defend each other and support each other when it does come tumbling down on us. So, I see you coming. I just want to say that the movement is not starting tomorrow. The movement has started, and it's time for us to figure out how we're going to catch up with it.
That's why I can honestly say that with young people like this, young women, and multiply them, because there's a lot of them out here who are doing a lot of fantastic things. That was one of the first things with the first panel. You know, I started telling folks, I said, talk about what we do, not what we don't do.
That's right.
And in Detroit, we are doers.
That's right.
All over the city. And I think that we will continue to be doers because we have to be. You know, no matter where we are in our stage of our life. Because, you know, you have to be impressed. I can really say that I'm impressed by these young people. scared that Reverend Mayowa was on my tail and talking about an elder. But we have a lot of work to do. We will continue to do. And with women, you know, I told somebody when they asked, there's no such thing as women's work. There's work that has to be done. And whoever does it best needs to do it. But in doing so, one of the things I heard them saying is, let's not forget our children. Because they have to be brought up in a circle of love and support. And that is one of the blessings. When you come into a room like this, even though some of us are connected, some of us aren't,